What if the moment you're most tempted to quit is the exact moment your life is about to change forever? Imagine walking away just one step before everything you've prayed for finally begins. Most people never realize that their darkest hour isn't proof they're failing. It's often the final test before transformation. Today you'll discover why chaos often appears before clarity, why your mind mistakes growth for danger, and how hidden psychological patterns may already be proving that everything is working out, even when reality seems to say the opposite. If this message is helping you see your struggles from a completely different perspective, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, we explore the hidden psychology behind personal transformation, resilience, and the deeper meaning behind life's most difficult moments. And if you've stayed this far, write, "I won't give up," in the comments. That simple declaration might become the promise your future self will thank you for. Every person dreams of a life where progress is smooth, where every effort brings immediate rewards, and where pain is only a distant memory. But life has never followed that pattern. Instead, the moments that shape us most are often the ones we would have chosen to avoid. When everything seems to fall apart, the natural instinct is to believe something has gone terribly wrong. Yet what if that difficult season is not a punishment, but preparation? What if the very struggle you are trying to escape is quietly building the version of you that your future requires? The mind often judges the present by its discomfort, but life measures it by its potential. This is why many people misunderstand their hardest moments. They see only obstacles, while something much deeper is taking place beneath the surface. Think about how nature works. A seed buried deep in the earth appears lifeless to anyone looking from above. It is surrounded by darkness, pressure, and silence. If the seed could think like we do, it might believe it had been forgotten. It might assume that being buried meant the end of its journey. Yet the darkness is not destroying it. The darkness is creating the exact conditions needed for growth. The shell begins to crack, not because the seed is dying, but because it is becoming something greater than it was before. Human transformation often follows the same mysterious pattern. We mistake the breaking for failure, when in reality it is the beginning of becoming. The parts of us that no longer serve our purpose must crack open before a stronger identity can emerge. One of the greatest illusions created by fear is the belief that struggle means you are moving in the wrong direction. In reality, genuine growth almost always feels uncomfortable because it demands that old beliefs, familiar habits, and outdated identities begin to dissolve. The human mind naturally seeks safety, predictability, and control. Whenever life removes those comforts, the mind sounds an alarm, convincing us that we should retreat. But deep transformation rarely happens inside comfortable routines. It happens when uncertainty forces us to discover strengths we never knew existed. Every disappointment, every delay, and every unexpected obstacle has the potential to reveal abilities that comfort could never awaken. The challenge is not simply surviving the storm, it is recognizing that the storm itself may be shaping the person you are meant to become. Many people give up because they expect transformation to begin with visible success. They wait for circumstances to improve before believing they are making progress. But inner change almost always happens long before the outside world reflects it. Confidence develops before opportunity arrives. Wisdom grows before recognition appears. Patience strengthens before the breakthrough becomes visible. Just because your eyes cannot yet see the results does not mean nothing is happening. Beneath every meaningful achievement lies a period of invisible preparation that few people appreciate while living through it. The strongest foundations are built underground, where no one applauds the work. By the time success becomes visible, the real transformation has already taken place within. So if life feels heavy today, resist the temptation to believe that everything is falling apart. Instead, consider another possibility. Perhaps every challenge is removing what no longer belongs in your life. Perhaps every delay is teaching you endurance that success alone could never provide. Perhaps every unanswered question is inviting you to trust a process that your logical mind cannot yet understand. Your struggle is not necessarily evidence that life is against you. It may be the quiet proof that life is preparing you for something your current version is not yet ready to receive. Keep moving forward, even when the path feels uncertain. One day you will look back and realize that the season you wanted to escape became the foundation of everything you were meant to become. There comes a moment in many lives when hope begins to fade. Not because a person has stopped believing in dreams, but because disappointment has become too familiar. Every unanswered prayer, every failed attempt, and every unexpected loss slowly whispers the same dangerous message. Maybe nothing will ever change. Despair rarely arrives all at once. It grows quietly, disguising itself as realism, convincing you that expecting better will only lead to more pain. Yet this inner darkness often carries a hidden purpose. The deepest emotional valleys are not always signs that your life is collapsing. Sometimes they are signals that your old way of seeing yourself can no longer continue. Before a stronger identity is born, the weaker one often experiences what feels like its final defeat. The mind naturally resists uncertainty because it craves certainty above almost everything else. When life refuses to provide clear answers, fear rushes in to fill the silence. It creates stories that sound convincing. It tells you that your efforts have been wasted, that your dreams were unrealistic, and that other people have been chosen for success while you have been forgotten. These thoughts feel real because they are repeated again and again. But not every thought deserves your trust. Many of the darkest conclusions you reach during difficult seasons are not reflections of reality. They are reflections of emotional exhaustion. A tired mind often mistakes temporary pain for permanent truth. There is something remarkable about the moments when a person feels completely lost. In those moments, the masks they have worn begin to fall away. The need to impress others weakens. The endless chase for approval loses its power. The illusion of having complete control starts to disappear. Although this process feels painful, it creates space for something more authentic to emerge. When the false image of who you believed you had to be begins to crumble, you are finally given the opportunity to discover who you truly are. Despair strips away illusions, leaving behind only what is genuine enough to survive the storm. Many people assume that emotional darkness is an enemy that must be avoided at all costs. But when faced with honesty instead of fear, it can become a powerful teacher. It forces you to confront the questions you have spent years avoiding. What truly matters to you? What dreams belong to your heart rather than to other people's expectations? Which fears have quietly been directing your decisions? These answers rarely appear during moments of comfort. They emerge when life becomes quiet enough that you can no longer escape yourself. The silence that once felt unbearable slowly becomes the place where clarity is born. So if despair has found its way into your life, do not mistake its presence for the end of your story. Every meaningful transformation begins by exposing what can no longer remain hidden. The darkness is not asking you to surrender your future, it is asking you to release the beliefs that have kept you trapped. The pain you feel today may be uncovering strengths you have never been forced to use, wisdom you could not have gained any other way, and courage that has been waiting beneath the surface all along. Hold on a little longer. The very struggle convincing you that nothing is changing may be the quiet evidence that everything inside you is already beginning to transform. There is a quiet battle that almost every person faces, though few ever speak about it. It is the struggle of continuing to believe when there is no visible evidence that anything is changing. We live in a world that celebrates immediate results, where success is measured by what can be seen, counted, or applauded. Because of this, waiting feels like failure, silence feels like rejection, delays feel like dead ends. But the deepest transformations in life rarely announce themselves. They unfold beneath the surface, beyond the reach of impatient eyes. Just because you cannot yet see progress does not mean progress has stopped. Some of the most important changes happen long before they become visible. Imagine standing in the middle of winter, looking at a forest covered in snow. At first glance, everything appears lifeless. The trees are bare, the ground is frozen, and nothing seems to be growing. Yet, beneath the surface, life has not disappeared. Roots continue to strengthen, seeds remain alive beneath the soil. Nature is quietly preparing for a season that cannot yet be seen. If someone judged the future only by what winter revealed, they would mistakenly believe that spring would never arrive. Human life often follows the same rhythm. There are seasons when nothing seems to move forward, yet invisible preparation is taking place in ways your conscious mind cannot fully understand. The greatest obstacle during these hidden seasons is not the difficulty itself, but the stories your mind creates about it. When answers are delayed, the mind quickly assumes the worst. It begins to question your worth, your purpose, and even the value of your efforts. It tells you that if success were truly coming, you would already have proof. But growth does not operate according to the demands of fear. Many of life's greatest opportunities require you to become someone new before you are ready to receive them. That inner preparation cannot be rushed. Wisdom must mature. Character must deepen. Patience must replace panic. Otherwise, the very blessings you seek could become burdens you are not yet prepared to carry. There is also a deeper lesson hidden within uncertainty. It teaches you to rely less on constant external validation and more on quiet inner conviction. Anyone can continue moving when the path is brightly lit and every step is rewarded. The real test comes when the road disappears into darkness and the only thing guiding you is a small voice within that refuses to let hope die. That voice is often drowned out by fear, comparison, and disappointment, yet it remains present. Learning to trust that inner certainty, even without immediate proof, develops a strength that no outside achievement can ever replace. The person who learns to walk confidently through uncertainty becomes far more resilient than the person who depends only on visible success. So if you find yourself in a season where nothing seems to be happening, do not assume that life has forgotten you. The unseen process is often the most important part of the journey. Every delay may be refining your character. Every unanswered question may be expanding your perspective. Every quiet day may be strengthening foundations that will support the future you have yet to experience. Trust does not mean pretending life is easy or ignoring your struggles. It means believing that today's uncertainty is not the final chapter. Keep showing up. Keep taking the next step, even if it feels small. One day, what now appears to be silence will reveal itself as the season in which everything was slowly, patiently, and perfectly falling into place. Every human being carries two voices within. One speaks from fear, urgency, and doubt. The other speaks quietly, patiently, and with surprising clarity. The problem is that fear is always louder. It demands immediate attention, convincing you that every setback is a warning, every delay is a failure, and every uncertainty is a reason to retreat. The quieter voice rarely argues, it simply waits, yet that calm inner guidance often knows something your anxious mind cannot yet understand. It sees beyond the temporary discomfort of the present moment and points toward the person you are capable of becoming. Learning to recognize the difference between these two voices is one of the greatest turning points in personal transformation. Fear has an extraordinary ability to disguise itself as logic. It presents convincing arguments for why you should stay where it feels safe. It reminds you of past failures, highlights every possible risk, and magnifies every obstacle until moving forward seems impossible. Over time, many people begin believing that this fearful voice is simply common sense. They mistake self-protection for wisdom. But there is an important question worth asking whenever fear speaks. Is this voice trying to help you grow, or is it only trying to keep you comfortable? Growth almost always requires stepping into unfamiliar territory, while fear is committed to preserving the familiar, even if the familiar is quietly limiting your potential. The inner voice operates very differently. It does not promise an easy journey, nor does it guarantee immediate success. Instead, it gently reminds you of who you truly are beneath the layers of insecurity, comparison, and self-doubt. It encourages persistence when your emotions tell you to quit. It whispers hope when circumstances appear hopeless. Unlike fear, which focuses only on avoiding pain, this deeper voice focuses on becoming whole. It invites you to trust your values instead of your anxieties, your purpose instead of your panic. The more you listen to it, the more you begin making decisions based not on temporary emotions, but on lasting truth. One reason so many people struggle to hear this inner guidance is because modern life is filled with constant noise. Endless opinions, comparisons, distractions, and expectations compete for your attention every day. In all that noise, fear grows stronger because it thrives on confusion and urgency. The quieter voice, however, becomes easier to hear only when you create moments of stillness. Reflection, honest self-examination, and the courage to sit with your own thoughts allow deeper wisdom to surface. Clarity rarely arrives through frantic searching. It often appears when you stop running from yourself and begin listening with patience. The answers you seek are not always outside you. Many have been waiting within you all along. So when life becomes uncertain, resist the temptation to let fear make your decisions. Fear will always predict disaster because that is its nature. But your deepest inner voice speaks from a place that fear cannot reach. It reminds you that every meaningful achievement once seemed impossible, every courageous step once felt terrifying, and every transformation began with someone choosing faith over doubt. Do not expect fear to disappear before you move forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that your deeper truth deserves more authority than your loudest doubts. As you continue listening to that quiet inner voice, you will discover that it has been leading you toward your true path long before you realized you were searching for it. The greatest transformations in life rarely happen in a single dramatic moment. They are built through countless ordinary days when you choose to keep moving, even though nothing seems to be changing. Most people imagine transformation as a sudden breakthrough, a day when everything finally makes sense and every problem disappears. But real change is much quieter than that. It is found in the decision to rise after another disappointment, to believe after another setback, and to continue walking when the destination is still hidden. Endurance is not simply surviving difficult seasons. It is allowing those seasons to shape your character instead of your fear. Every challenge you overcome leaves behind a stronger version of yourself, even if you cannot yet recognize the difference. Life has a remarkable way of testing the very qualities it wishes to strengthen. Patience grows only when you are forced to wait. Courage develops only when fear is present. Wisdom is born from mistakes, not perfection. Strength emerges through resistance, not comfort. This is why difficult seasons often feel unfair. You are being asked to become someone you have never been before, and that process demands far more than positive thinking. It requires persistence. It requires choosing hope when your emotions suggest surrender. Every time you continue despite uncertainty, you prove that your future is stronger than your present circumstances. The person you are becoming is quietly taking shape through every challenge you refuse to let define you. One of the greatest misconceptions about endurance is believing that it means never feeling tired or discouraged. In reality, the strongest people often experience doubt just as deeply as everyone else. They have moments when they question the journey, wonder if their efforts matter, and struggle to see the purpose behind their pain. What separates them is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear make their final decision. They understand that emotions are temporary visitors, while commitment is a lasting choice. Even on the hardest days, they take one more step, trusting that consistent effort will eventually accomplish what momentary motivation never could. Transformation belongs to those who continue long after excitement has faded. There is another hidden truth about endurance that many people overlook. While you are waiting for life to change, Life is waiting for you to change. Circumstances may improve, opportunities may appear, and doors may eventually open. But the greatest miracle often happens within you first. The challenges that once overwhelmed you begin to lose their power. The opinions that once controlled you become less important. The fears that once dictated your decisions gradually fall silent. Without realizing it, you become calmer, wiser, and more resilient. You discover that the greatest victory is not simply reaching your goal, but becoming the kind of person who can carry that success with humility, confidence, and inner peace. So if you feel exhausted by the journey, remember this. Every step you take is shaping a future version of yourself that could never have existed without today's struggles. Do not measure your progress only by visible results. Measure it by the strength you have gained, the patience you have developed, and the courage you continue to choose despite uncertainty. Nothing meaningful is ever wasted. Every tear, every failure, every lesson, and every act of perseverance is becoming part of the foundation on which your future will stand. Keep going, even when the path feels lonely. One day, you will look back and realize that the hardest season of your life was not the chapter that broke you, it was the chapter that built the person you were always meant to become. There is a strange moment that arrives before many of life's greatest breakthroughs. From the outside, nothing appears to be improving. The same problems remain, the same questions linger, and the future still feels uncertain. Yet deep within, something begins to shift. You become a little calmer than you were yesterday. The panic that once controlled every decision slowly loses its grip. The need to force every outcome starts to fade. These changes are easy to overlook because they are silent, but they are often the first signs that everything is beginning to align. Real transformation does not announce itself with noise. It begins with subtle changes in the way you think, respond, and understand yourself. One of the clearest signs that life is moving in the right direction is that the things which once disturbed your peace no longer have the same power over you. The criticism that used to keep you awake at night no longer defines